will take our keynote address from Dr. Mark Anthony Cobblah. But before Doc comes in, let me reiterate that the title of this keynote is Whose Mind Is It Anyway? Okay, so we have heard from two presenters, and now Dr. Cobblah is going to give us a keynote address on Whose Mind Is It Anyway? Rethinking Knowledge Ownership in the Age of Artificial Intelligence. So as I mentioned, he will set the stage for our reflections on how libraries and knowledge institutions can navigate and indeed lead in the new information frontier that we have heard from both Dr. Odudu and Mr. Sylvester.
So thank you very much. Anytime I see Monica, I get excited. I always admire her from a distance. Thank you very much for availing yourself on all platforms to support this profession. I'm always proud of you. So as said, it has been and I want to acknowledge the earlier speakers. They've really done justice to the topic. I was listening very carefully to them. Especially the last speaker, and he's very passionate about the issues, and I share most of the issues that he has shared with us with him. So I'm speaking on the topic, whose mind is it anyway? Rethinking knowledge ownership in the age of artificial intelligence. And as it has been said earlier on, I am just providing the keynote address. So most of my issues are just thought-provoking issues that I'll leave hanging for us to discuss later. I'll try to provide an introduction and give a brief overview of knowledge ownership. I'll look at knowledge as a common good or as a digital commodity. I'll look at the role of AI in knowledge ownership. I'll just mention something briefly about the evolving role of libraries as curators to knowledge. Then I'll also probably mention something about its ownership of knowledge dead or under rebirth. Then I'll attempt rethinking ownership of knowledge in the current perspective. Then some practical solutions, then I'll be done. I know I have 20 minutes for this. Colleague, the issue we are debating now is not that we are running away from the truth that knowledge generation, creativity, innovation, and intellectual property are still human endeavors. Nobody debate that. I think we still believe that people should be rewarded for knowledge generation, knowledge creation, innovation, invention. That's not the issue. But what we are talking about now is, in this age of generative AI technology, there are doubts about ownership of knowledge, serious doubts about the true ownership of knowledge. And as people in the value chain, as publishers, as authors, as librarians, we need to really deal with this issue once and for all. And I'll try to explore some of the issues and raise some thought-provoking issues around this issue that is emerging for us to deal with. Knowledge ownership basically refers to the control, rights, and responsibility of our knowledge. That's how knowledge is created, how it is used, how it is shared, and how it is preserved or protected. And knowledge ownership sits at the intersection of intellectual property, ethics, and social norms. And these are facts that I want to reiterate to my listeners. But who owns a piece of knowledge, and under what condition can it be used or shared, is now becoming debatable. And these are the concerns that I want to deal with. Now, we are very familiar with forms of knowledge ownership. We are very familiar with the individual ownership of knowledge. That's knowledge that has been created by a person or a group of people with exclusive rights to this piece of knowledge. And in librarianship, sometimes we refer to as personal author, or if you like, personal author. Then we also have what we call institutional ownership of knowledge, where the knowledge has been developed and legally owned by an organization. And I know in library, we refer to this as corporate author. I don't know whether this has changed. Those of you in the library school, you will help me in this. But that's what I remember from my MA library notes, that we have a personal author and corporate. And I think it's applied here as well. We have individual ownership, we have institutional ownership. The emerging one now is the collective or communal ownership. That's the third form, which is emerging. Some knowledge is now considered public good or a cultural heritage shared within communities, including individual ownership. So this is the one that we are now referring to as collective or communal ownership. Is that what is happening in the AI age? Are we developing another level of ownership? Is also something that we should be thinking about. And I want to raise discussion on this as the summit goes on. Now, knowledge as a common good or a digital commodity. There are two schools of thought. Some still see knowledge as a common good. So long as the knowledge is shared, it's a shared resource. So long as the scholarly work is shared to solve problems, to solve issues, it's still for a common good. So far as the knowledge has a collective benefit to all, it is for a common good. And in this age, so long as the knowledge is open access and open sourced, it's for common good. Then the most important one, so long as the knowledge meets ethical requirements in both use, reuse, sharing, and everything, even the generation, it's for a common good. Then there's another school of thought who thinks that in this digital age, knowledge is regarded as a commodity. And in this era, what you see is that knowledge is privatized and monetized. The so-called AI-driven economy, data, big data, and all the prices that are put on it. And the growing, and I subscribe to intellectual property right, I do, but it's growing beyond measure. People want to profit from even where what is not due them. Of course, the knowledge that is driven towards a data-driven economy is also regarded as a digital commodity, not as a common good for the public. Of course, the knowledge that is incentivize innovation, reward innovation, is also not for a common good. It's privatized, commercialized, and it's not for common good. And I think to make this very clear to the audience. Now, the role of artificial intelligence in knowledge ownership. And don't get me wrong, I subscribe to the use of AI responsibly. AI is a knowledge creator. There's no two ways about it. It creates new content, insights, and research outputs. And I'm sure you agree with me that there's no doubt about this. AI is a knowledge organizer. It organizes knowledge very fast, detects patterns, analysis, and all the other things that you want to do. AI does that. AI is a knowledge commodifier. It turns data into knowledge and into digital products. There's no doubt about that. AI as a tool for common knowledge also facilitates access to research outputs, open educational resources, and share data sets. So AI does all this, and it must be emphasized that there's a very good role for AI in knowledge ownership and management. Now, the evolving roles of libraries as guardians to knowledge. Yes, so what is happening now? Librarians as guardians of knowledge. Even in this era, we still have to play a role in preserving knowledge, in ensuring the integrity of knowledge, in ensuring the ethical use of knowledge. We still have to play a role as curators of knowledge. We still have to organize knowledge. We still have to facilitate access. We still have to decide on which format to organize and to select. We still play that role as librarians and as libraries. We still have to facilitate knowledge access as much as possible, even in the digital era. So we still play that role. And the same role we play for accessing knowledge or accessing information is still what we do for accessing knowledge as well. Of course, we have a role to play in the AI and knowledge-driven era as librarians. We shouldn't lose sight of that. We have a role to play in guiding, in creating awareness, in ensuring ethical use of AI in this knowledge-driven economy. We have to play a role as well. We can lose sight of that. Then, is authorship of knowledge dead or under rebirth? Is another challenge I want to leave with the summit for it to discuss. Some are of the view that the collective knowledge production makes it very difficult to determine who owns the knowledge. And I agree with them. So it makes authorship difficult now, because if it's a collective knowledge, a communal knowledge of public good, who becomes the owner? It's really difficult. It's really difficult. And I taught a course in indigenous knowledge management. It becomes even more difficult if it's indigenous knowledge. You don't know who owns it. Is it the community that practice that knowledge? Is it the person who went to capture it? Is it who owns it? Collective ownership. It's difficult to determine ownership. It poses a challenge, a big challenge. The AI generated knowledge is also another issue that poses a challenge in determining ownership. I mean, you go and generate all the documents from AI tools. Who owns it? Is it your work? I don't think so. I don't think so. So it poses a challenge to ownership. Then the shift from ownership to access. This day we talk about access. It's also another challenge that is making ownership difficult now to determine. Now, everybody is access. Nobody even cares where it is coming from. Access. Databases. Nobody cares about the individual authors. Nobody cares about them. Then the legal and ethical ambiguities that we have now is also even making it even worse. You realize that we don't have enough, and I'll come to talk about that when I get to the challenges. We don't have enough ethical or enough legal policies and frameworks in this era to determine ownership, especially in this AI era, and it's a challenge for us. But there are two new forms of authorship that we have to be looking at. What is called the hybrid authorship deals, where even between authors and publishers, they are coming together to sign contracts and determine the role the author has played in developing the manuscript, the contribution the author makes to the work in terms of designing, typesetting, in terms of editing. Then, of course, we know that when it comes to marketing and promotion of the work, it is done by the publishers. So the hybrid authorship deals are a clear solution to the way forward, where it is very clear the contribution of everybody in the value chain in the authorship of the document, of the knowledge. And of course, where AI is now considered as a tool, not as an author, is also a solution for this issue. When we see AI as a tool to facilitate your work, where, as we have had in the past, where citations are recognized, and cited, and is acceptable in academia, I think we need to go back to that, so that we determine that some amount of AI can be used in a work, maybe a thesis or a research work. Some amount of AI can be used, and that must be cited. And as well, we cite AI work is another thing that we, the librarians, and all of us in this value chain must come to some agreement as to how this can be cited. So these two forms of recognition is some of the things that can help address the concerns we have about the dead authorship. And let's rebirth these ones as I've suggested. Rethinking ownership of knowledge from possession to stewardship. So we have to be moving from ownership, that's control of resource, to responsibility, to the management of resource. That should be our mindset now. We have to move from ownership. This ownership, I own it, to who is responsible, who was responsible, which group was responsible, what was their role to management. Then again, we have to now see knowledge as a living resource. Move from a static living resource to a dynamic living resource. It's also very important. Then there's ethical and social imperatives. There's so much profiteering, and I wish some of our publisher brothers are here. We must move from there. They are making so much money from us, so much money, because a typical scholar just wants recognition for his work. He doesn't even want any profit. But so the publishers have taken advantage of that to profit from us, sell our knowledge resources, and make so much profit, and even give us nothing to support us. So I think we should begin to move from this concept to competition to equity and accessibility. That's what we should promote. That's why some of us are advocates for open access and all the emerging trends that are happening in the global scholarly work. Then the digital and AI transformation possesses knowledge to manage knowledge. We should be more about, should be moved towards managing, using these two to manage knowledge than to possess knowledge. So there's movement from, we should not be so much concerned about ownership, but about how do we manage the knowledge and ensure equity and access. Of course, the institutional reorientation is also very important. We should be guided by that and ensure institutional reorganization. Right. The challenges are very much, I'm sure they are no different from what my colleagues have already shared. There are challenges that we face, especially on the African content, in contributing knowledge to in this age of artificial intelligence. One of it is the limited digital infrastructure. We cannot run away from it. We just don't have the infrastructure. Those of you who are trying, it's not adequate. Some don't even have it. So we need to address this if we want to move this way. It's really a challenge. In this AI age, we should be moving towards, if we want to contribute to knowledge in this AI, then we need to have the infrastructure in place. Then, of course, we need to address the issue of data inequalities and biases that is confronting us. It's really an issue. The rejection of, somebody was mentioning a rejection of our repositories and other things that are happening in the global world. We need to address those biases. And for me, we still don't have the adequate skills and capacity for, there are gaps. We don't have adequate skills in this era. The librarians don't have. And we need to build on our capacity in this era of using AI in knowledge generation, knowledge management. We need to work at that. Then another concern is the issue of inadequate policies and frameworks. It's important because if we want to allow AI use in academia, in research work, then they should be guided by policies. We have plagiarism policies. In my university, for instance, you can cite up to 20% of your work if it's an MPhil lot, and that should be cited and checked. And that is a responsible use of AI, in so to speak. Then, of course, the funding constraints, they are always there. And please, don't get me wrong, it's becoming difficult now to secure funding. So we need to really come back to the drawing board and see how we can raise funds within our continent and support some of this. I think the money is here. We have the money here in Africa. I just, let's engage, if our government at the level of AU will commit some funding to this issue, I'm sure it will be of good to all of us. Right. So some practical solution to the challenge of knowledge ownership in this age of AI. One of it, of course, is that we need to invest more in digital infrastructure. And I'm talking about the entire enterprise of information systems. We can't leave any out. There are about 5 components. We need to invest in the right hardware, information experts, the right network and data. It's very important we invest strategic investment, collaborative investment. Don't duplicate our effort. We don't waste money. There's no money to be wasted. And we are all busy looking for the so-called Scopus Index. How many African journals have met the Scopus Index standards? What are we doing about it? DOAJ is there. At least if we turn our journals to open access journals, can't we use the standard and get them listed there and they are as good as anything? We need to develop our platforms and resources. We need to build capacity, as we are doing now. This is also part of it. And I want to really commend AfLIA for this initiative. They have always been there for us when it comes to capacity building. We need robust policies and frameworks to address this. As I said, AI has come to stay. AI will not go anywhere. And I've always compared AI to water and knife and fire. They all have very good use. Electricity, they are good masters, good servants, but bad masters. So they have their good. It's left to you to use the good. So we just have to enact policies to guide us in the use of these AIs in our institutions and our continent. We need to expand research funding as much as possible into this area, channel our research effort in this area, and address this issue. The world is waiting for us. The academic community is waiting for us. They don't seem to have any say in this area. It's normally a no-go zone, a gray area for them when it comes to promotion when it comes to this journal things, they have for them, they leave it with the librarians and those of us in the value chain. We need to help them address the issue. As I come to the conclusion, I also still want to leave with some thought-provoking issues. First of all, as I made it clear at the beginning of my presentation, the traditional knowledge generation, creativity are inherent humans. Those who generate knowledge, we still have to acknowledge them and give them their right. We will not run away from it. I stand by that. But we must also admit that generative AI, where machines can create novels and high value work instantly, is also there. It has also come to stay. And when it is done in that form, we should acknowledge that this one is an AI generated work. We should acknowledge it, so that people know that it's not my work. Or I use some element of AI tools in this work, and let me cite them so that when we are looking at the work, we can see where AI was used. And the line between human authorship and algorithm and computations are now obsolete. We need to take note of that as well. But there are three ownership dilemmas that I also want to conclude with. Now, the source of the data. Who owns the content used for in this case for the training? Let me just use the input, the source. Who owns it? So we need to look at ownership in three ways now. Who owns it? Who developed the content? Who owns the content? And that's the authors will still be known when you determine who owns the content, who conducted the research, who gathered the data, who analyzed the data, which we can still trace them. Then what I call the model prompt. Who owns the model itself? Who owns the instruction? Even the AI system that we use is somebody who wrote that program. Who wrote it? It must be acknowledged. We need to trace and know who owns that. We must acknowledge that. Then, of course, the final output that come out of the work, whether it was AI generated, whether it was a creation, who owns it? So what I'm trying to say is that we can trace the role of everyone, the role of the human, the role of AI, the role of any system that was used to generate that content, and attribute ownership to everyone and the role they have played. So I don't think there's any ambiguity about this. It's just for us to come up with policies, guidance, guidelines, and anything that will guide us so that we can know everybody's role as we know in the past. Even in academic work, sometimes I remember my PhD thesis, I cited over 300 and something people, and I acknowledge them duly. We can still do the same. It doesn't mean the work is not mine, the work is still mine. Let's just acknowledge the role of AI, and let's do that with policies. And I'm sure that that will solve it. So what I'm trying to say is that they are currently not the frameworks, the models, the legal issues that are available. I'm happy our first colleague who presented is a lawyer. We need more of these lawyers in the librarianship. They should come and help us with the policies, with the legal frameworks that will help us identify. Copyright is still there. Copyright is not gone. IP is still there. It's not gone. And we need all this to help us. I think, thank you very much for your audience.
Thank you very much. Thank you, colleagues. Thank you all. Thank you very much. Indeed, there is no ambiguity about this. Let us acknowledge the source. And the source is who? Is us. The source is artificial intelligence, AI. Let us just acknowledge the source. Thank you very much, Dr. Mark Anthony Cobblah, for that compelling and deeply reflective keynote, as I would say. You have indeed helped us to think more critically about the blurred boundaries between human creativity and machine intelligence, and the urgent need for librarians to serve as ethical stewards of knowledge in an age where data and algorithms increasingly shape our intellectual landscape. Indeed, listening to your presentations, your insights on how we as information professionals can actually reposition ourselves in the AI era, not as passive consumers of technology, but as architects of responsible knowledge systems, truly sets the tone for this summit. And I'm glad we listened to you. Thank you once again for inspiring us to rethink ownership, to rethink authorship, and the agency in the digital age.